Hello, we are going to jump into milk production and milk supply, lactogenesis, things that can negatively affect milk supply, and ways to increase your milk supply while you are breastfeeding. So let's dive in. All right, so we're going to talk about lactogenesis, which is hormone driven. And it goes through different phases, such as during pregnancy is the first stage. After your placenta is birthed, that's your second stage. And we go through this third phase, which is this maintenance phase, which relies on prolactin and oxytocin to respond and to regulate your milk supply. So, which is one of the things that's great when we can have a low stress and high like stimulation for oxytocin during our birth experience to be able to increase that milk supply with those hormones. So, let's continue in with um, kind of bridging of what we've talked about in previous videos for colostrum, which is that absolutely amazing first milk that is the liquid gold, and those that will start to fade. So what comes next after your milk's going to come in? So often these are different symptoms that we're going to talk about, but there's no one size fits all. You might have a couple of these, you might have one, you might have none. But these are just symptoms or things that you might feel or things that you might experience. So changes in your breast, they might feel a little more swollen, they might feel a little bigger or a little harder. We just want to be aware of making sure that they do not become engorged, because we don't want to have any plugged ducts or anything that would come beyond that. So, one of those things also when we talk about matured milk is, well, when's my milk going to come in? And people get very concerned because they'll see these big bottles of formula and they assume that their baby should be drinking that amount. But your colostrum is amazing, and just keep feeding that baby. And on average, around day 3, but really from anywhere from day 1 to day 6, your milk will come in, and that's going to change as it goes. So don't stress out if you're on day 2 or 3 or 4 and you're still producing colostrum. Your transitional milk's going to come and your mature milk's going to come in. So letdown on top of milk, your mature milk coming in, is something else that really varies for each individual. So sometimes people will feel no letdown. They don't notice when there's a letdown of milk, and other people will have different symptoms such as tingling, stinging, just kind of a little bit of like vibration, feeling the milk being released. Some people, we've explained it as it's kind of just like this fountain being released and hitting a wall and then kind of stopping and then just kind of leaking a little bit. So there's different ways that it has been explained, but it really varies for each person. And sometimes you're going to have a little bit, sometimes you're not, and that's okay. So long as baby is still having those wet diapers, those bowel movements, is a happy demeanor, and gaining weight, those are what we look for. We don't want to stress out about if we're, you know, feeling a letdown. We don't want to stress out about if you are pumping and you're not getting much out, but baby seems very satisfied when they're at the breast. Different bodies react differently. So those are just things to keep in mind. So one of the things that really concerns parents is when a decrease in milk supply, or they're worried that they're going to lose their milk supply. So let's discuss a few things that will interfere with this. And we're just going to go over it. We're not going to make it a real long discussion. But if you have continued questions, or you are concerned about something or unsure, feel free to shoot me a message. Feel free to jump over to www.transcendmaternalservices.com and go into the contact and shoot me an email. I would be more than happy to discuss with you, or on Facebook at Transcend MS, or on Instagram, Transcend Maternal. So these are ways to contact me, and we can kind of follow up a little bit more. So things that negatively affect your milk supply is supplementing. Supplementing with anything other than breast milk, even donor milk or formula or other foods this is going to not, it's going to complement your, not just complement your breast milk. It's going to take away a little bit of that hunger and a little bit less time that they're going to be breastfeeding. And we don't want to, especially in those early days before 6 months where solids are even introduced, we don't want to get caught up in this topped off vicious cycle of formula or other bottles. So another thing is bottle preference, where a bottle might be easier for babies to suckle on versus the breast, which we've talked about the benefits of breastfeeding and how it is good for their jaw, how it's good for to have that hard palate, and it's good for their ears to be breastfeeding and to work for that. So bottle preference, which also goes with pacifier. Pacifiers are a wonderful bridge if you're unable to nurse at that time. Like if you're driving in the car and you need to get somewhere, giving them a pacifier is okay, but we don't want it to be a barrier to shut off hunger cues. So those are things to be aware of. Nipple shields, though they can be beneficial when there are a lot of struggles, we also want to encourage you to meet with a lactation consultant to be able to transition them directly to the breast, because though nipple shields and pumping is great because they're still getting breast milk, which there is no comparison for, being able to get them directly to breast has so many health benefits for their saliva in your breast and for that correlation of your milk changing. Um, so negative things are also your scheduled feedings. So we want to avoid scheduled feedings because this is going to silence or dismiss their hunger cues in between those times, which it breaks my heart when hospitals send people home and they say, well, every 3 hours they should be eating. And whether they intend for it or not, this is putting the notion in, well, if baby ate at 6, they won't have to eat again until 9 and then 12. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I eat a lighter meal and I get hungry before the next meal. Or I ate a really heavy meal and I'm not as hungry the next one. Or sometimes I'm hungry in between just for a little snack. But I know a big one would be more so of a drink of water. So for thirst, if I went to go grab a cup of water in my kitchen, I wouldn't have anybody saying, no, you can't have that. That's not good. You're creating bad habits. Not at all, because that is my physical need, was that I needed a drink of water. As well as breastfeeding is for comfort and so much more. So we want to be able to facilitate that and be able to go through with that. So not scheduling feedings and not timing feedings, not saying, well, baby needs to eat for this long or no longer than this, because some babies eat fast, some eat slow. Your milk supply, your letdown is going to be very different and unique to you, just as well as your baby's eating style and speed is going to be very, very different. So other negative side effects is sleeping babies or sleepy babies, especially in those first couple days after birth. We see this a lot with cesareans or baby or births that had more interventions where babies might be a little more groggy. So this can affect, and this is why it's so great to have a doula or to have a lactation consultant to be able to support you and assist you through that, as well as sleep training or having a baby who just sleeps through the night, being able to compensate that, because we still want to have that milk withdrawal so that it's triggering more milk supply to be created. And also there can be sometimes underlying health problems with mom if all other areas are ruled out for milk supply decreasing. Maybe it's time to see a provider and just get a screen of blood work done. So those are different things that can possibly negatively affect your milk supply. So let's talk about increasing our milk supply. So first off, whenever you're having struggles with breastfeeding or for anything related with lactation, I really encourage you to see a lactation consultant. We have wonderful ones here in Berks County and beyond, and there are wonderful resources when you can look even on Google and research and search out lactation consultants in your area. So when we talk about breastfeeding and we want to increase breastfeeding and breast milk supply, feed, feed, feed as often as baby wants, as often as you can offer. And if you are working or if you are away from baby, making sure that you're pumping or expressing milk during that time, that is going to just trigger that regulation of supply and demand. So you want to nurse often, nurse as long as possible, and offering both breasts a third, a fourth, a fifth time, being able to, get a shower or get a bath with baby and let them have that skin to skin, and they might just kind of go down and they might suckle, and just being able to have that can trigger those release for more milk. So, a nursing vacation is another way. If, say, you're away from baby, possibly working all week, maybe having your weekends where you just ample amount of time with baby, skin to skin, like I said, getting a bath, getting a shower, having breasts available, and having that one on one time or just more quieted down time of a mini vacation for you and baby, um, to be able to go. And just as supplementation is a negative side effect, we want to keep it on the positive side of making sure that baby only gets breast milk unless there is a medical concern. So making sure that you are giving breast milk only, then they will continue to up your supply to meet their demand and what that's going to look like. So breastfeeding, pumping, continually triggering that into your body. So, as well as after meeting with a lactation consultant, they might suggest different supplementations to up your supply. So, those are just different ways of understanding your milk supply, as well as things that can positively or negatively affect your breast milk and your production. So, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was something that was able to apply to you. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message and seek out help from local doulas, from lactation consultants, from your providers. Make sure that you are finding people that are educated in breastfeeding and are not going to dismiss your concerns or suggest supplementation when that is not your hopes and your goals. All right, thank you so much and have a wonderful day or evening whenever you are watching this. All right, thank you.